let's talk about the article. So I in the title it says woke equals unhappy. And that's because of this article from the New York Post. Woke people are more likely to be unhappy, anxious, and depressed, new study suggests, which
Damn, they
to
needed a
me,
study for that?
Thank you, Garrett. I really, oh wow, shocker. I mean,
sense.
The world's against them. They think that everyone
That's
other
the
than
real
them
thing.
has an advantage in life that they somehow don't have, even though they probably have rich parents.
And they're afraid of white people.
They think
Bro,
the world
you
should be a
white
way.
people
to
fill
I
this
just
country.
realized, you know what gang stalking is?
Yeah.
It's a mental disorder.
Yeah.
Where people
Yeah.
think that everybody, like there's people following them and watching them. That's what being woke is.
It is.
You're woke. You've woken up to being a
Why
gang
are you
stalker,
making
and
this
you're like,
about
people are
me,
following.
Garrett? Just kidding.
It's all about
Well,
you.
let's read it and then we'll discuss it. Psychological researchers in Finland have created an assessment to help measure an individual's commitment to principles of social justice. God, that's a nightmare sentence already. And made some surprising findings across the Finnish population, including a negative correlation between progressive ideals and levels of happiness. Their findings, published in the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology, suggest other Western nations may see similar patterns among their socially conscious citizens. Study author Oskari Latinen, a senior researcher at the Invest Research Flagship Center at the University of Turku, remarked that the woke discourse has since worked its way into Finnish discourse. This debate was largely data-free, and it could thus be considered a worthwhile question to study how prevalent these attitudes are, he continued. No reliable and valid instrument existed prior to the study to assess the extent and prevalence of these attitudes in different populations, so I set out to develop one. Their research trajectory included extensive reading on intersectional feminism, critical race theory, queer theory, and other relevant academic disciplines that inform critical social justice. The Post reports. The pilot survey included 850 adult participants, most of whom were associated with the University of Turku. After refining the initial scale, the study was expanded to a more representative national sample of 5,000 participants, distributed via Helsingin Sanomat, Finland's largest newspaper. In the end, their final critical social justice attitude scale identified 7 truisms of woke people. And here they are. If white people have on average, a higher level of income than black people, then it is because of racism.
It is.
University reading lists should include fewer white or European authors.
Agreed.
Microaggressions should be challenged often and actively.
Whoa, that second one is crazy. It took me a second. Wow.
University reading list.
It is wild.
Wow.
Trans women who compete with women in sports are not helping women's rights. We don't need to talk more about the color of people's skin.
Fact.
A white person cannot understand how a black person feels equally well as another black person.
And
A
vice
member
versa?
of a it only goes in one direction.
That's crazy.
A member of a privileged group can adopt features or cultural elements of
Absolutely.
a less privileged group. So the gender divide was probably the most surprising to me. They told the Finnish attitudes. 3 out of 5 women view woke ideas positively, but only 1 out of 7 men. This was especially true of women in fields such social sciences, education, humanities.
So
by
thinking with your
contrast,
heart more?
Yeah, and listen to this part.
Wow.
By contrast, participants who worked in STEM were more likely to critique social justice efforts associated with being woke. So, if you're
Yeah.
smart, you're not woke.
Yeah.
So there's so this also proved the correlation with being dumb. And having social justice be your ideology.
Makes sense.
They don't say that, but we can read between the lines there.
Yep.
However, the most
Dan
concerning
Snyder?
finding...
The fuck?
What?
That's what
That
I was
is.
thinking.
Dan Snyder,
Garrett,
the Nickelodeon pedophile, right there.
Yeah, that
Creepy
show's
guy,
coming
yeah.
out about them.
Oh shit!
Really?
This guy?
Sorry, I
Quiet
cut
on
you
Set.
off.
Yeah, you don't want to
Anyway.
know about that
That's a
rabbit hole.
segue.
I don't know about that. I don't want to know. Anyway, let
don't
me
wanna
just
know,
finish this.
bro.
Was that like a Playboy
However, the
bunny
most
rabbit, was it?
concerning finding was the relationship between mental health and agreement with the scale. Specifically, researchers found a high prevalence of anxiety and depression in people who believe the statement, if white people have an average of higher income than black people, it's because of racism. More broadly, they found that those who identified as left-wing were most likely to report lower mental well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about
Lahtinen warned
advanced?
against extrapolating their findings to international audience just yet, particularly across Western nations. The studies were quite robust with a sample size above 5,000 and good psychometric properties. However, the scale would need to be validated in North American samples in order to know these attitudes manifest there. Well, I can
It'll go
tell
the
you,
exact opposite.
you know
because
what?
Silicon
I don't know how
Valley
George
loves
has been
locals.
there. George, have you heard this? What we've
Yeah.
most of this? Okay, what do you think about all this?
Well, I'm curious to know what Quarter Black and Other Black have to say about it.
It's coming in.
Welcome to the show,
jabs.
I was
George.
curious about the advanced
Coming in hot.
advanced colors as well.
No, I think it's all BS. Come on, it's the same agenda. It's the same. It's the same BS. It's like there was an article today by Ellen Page. Basically,
Oh, that.
yeah,
right.
but it's the same. It falls in the same category. What the we're in this trap because they've been selling lies. The same way they twist history is the same way they're coming now, trying to create a division. Look, American Society of the Magical Negro, right? The whole point of that is to divide people. That if they were really being honest with that film, they would have taken a lot of shots. They would have been funny. But they
Could've
didn't
been
have that.
hilarious.
True.
Yeah,
No,
it
but
would've
what they
been.
Well,
wanted
this-
to do is they
this
wanted to
isn't
comfort the white creators that are in Hollywood,
right.
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
like a magical Negro would.
Yep.
Well,
Kinda
I don't
weird
think
how
this.
that movie
That
worked out.
movie
I don't.
had
Hold on.
potential.
Hold on. I don't think this
It does have
article
potential,
was
but they didn't do it.
was doing anything about dividing. I think this was actually just showing the people that actually believe those things are depressed in life.
But I'm
They're the
talking
ones who
about-
are
I'm sorry.
more likely. Well, I know what you're talking about, but like this article was talking about these people that believe those things. Number one, they're lower IQ.
Absolutely.
That's from what it's like. All right, the people who go into STEM, you kind of have to have a higher IQ to understand and be or compete in that industry because there's a lot of smart people in the world that you got to go up against to be in STEM, right?
100%.
Like, right. So, okay. So the people that are in social sciences, education, humanities, it's like those are people that it actually says specific. This is especially true of women. So this was actually talking more about women than in general because it said 1 in 7 men agreed with these social justice statements that they had, but it was 3 out of 5 women. Yeah, 3 out of 5 women felt that way, that they believe all these ridiculous things.
That's a lot. It's not a lot. That seems like
That's a lot. Yeah, it is.
Right. I think
Yeah.
the wokies, I agree with those points. I think the
It's like it's not
wokies,
enough.
I think the wokies fall into kind of 2 categories. The ones that, and I think both are depressed. You have kind of like the woke suburban Karen who has everything, doesn't have anything to complain
Except a husband.
about, except a husband most of the times, or they have a husband and he's henpecked, on a chain,
Or no kids.
or kids,
Or
Oh
they
my
do
God.
have kids and they hate their kid, or
Oh,
they
let me
wish
tell
their
you.
kid was
Trans
another
their
gender so that they trans their kid. Right.
Or you got the flip side, which is they're complete and utter failures professionally. They're living in mother's basement, and the only thing they have is people who are stoking their anger of telling them why they have failed. It's not you.
You're a victim.
You're a victim.
It's someone
You're not a
else's fault.
loser. You're not a loser.
You
You're
need
a
communism.
There you go. So that way,
Basically.
It's the white man that held you down. It's the man that held you down. It's
Yep.
the
Especially
system.
the white man.
It's
though.
capitalism. Yeah.